The story that we just heard about the crooked manager is about an employee who was fraudulent, that he was embezzling, and that he did this in a really crafty, creative way. But then he gets caught, and he gets fired. And he cooks up this ingenious scheme so that when he doesn't have a job and there's no money coming in any longer, that he would be able to still have a place to live and still have a place and a way of life. So he calls his clients in. He's in charge of, I guess, this big farm, and they've got olive trees and they've got wheat, and he says, "How much do you owe the master?" And he tells them, "Mark it down," and so that he is doing them a favor. He's buying their friendship so that after he's fired, that they will be kind and indebted to him, and that he will have a way of life. Now, the surprise of the story comes at the end of the parable when the boss praises this guy that he's fired already. Instead of scolding him, he praises him. And it seems strange to us because as we're hearing this story, we want to hear a story of morality. We want to hear a story that teaches us about honesty and fairness. And this story then commends the shrewdness of this terrible, dishonest servant. And so the point of this story for us is that the manager is not commending his dishonesty, but he's commending his creativity. He's commending his ability to find another way to get the job done, even if it's dishonest. He's commending, but he's only commending his shrewdness and his creativity. And so the key to the parable is, and his master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. Now Jesus ends the story right there, and he turns to his disciples and then to us as well, and he says, "The children of this age, the way things are done in the world, people are more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than the children of light." And there's nothing new at the time of Jesus. There was nothing new at the time of Amos when we heard that, the story of everybody manipulating the scales and everything in order to get more for themselves. And the same thing is absolutely true for today as well. Now, maybe some of you parents can relate to this. There may have been a time where you discover little Susie or little Johnny, and they've done something that you found out about that you don't like, that's not right, and then they tell you about what they had done, and this big smile comes across and just says, "Now that's a good one. You've been really creative and really working at that for a long time, but you're still grounded." You know, you can appreciate the creativity of it, even if it's for something that's bad. And Jesus says we need to use that same creativity for the good, for the light, for the hope, for the love, and not just let the world use creativity in dishonest and deceitful ways. dreaming and scheming and deciding and doing. You see, you can do those things either for something that is really horrible, or you can do those very same things for something that is really good. And if the workers of darkness can be so shrewd, Jesus says, so can we. So can we in our planning and in our working to bring forth the goodness of God's love and mercy and peace. Yes, we need this parable because shrewdness does not come to everybody naturally. We understand that we have to work hard and be, a little ingenious to chase after the world's good. But we don't always translate that into that we need to also, as children of the light, to work hard and be ingenious and think of new ways and of letting the world know that life and love will prevail. Yes, Jesus points out elsewhere in Luke's gospel, as well as this parable, that money and possessions can be very dangerous things if we are using them only for ourselves, and if we're using them to manipulate and control other people. But that money and our possessions are gifts of God, and those things can also be used for good work, for our ultimate concern of sharing and caring for those around us. It is possible to manage our goods, our income. This is on a personal level. This is as a family. This is as a community. It is as a congregation. We can manage all of them in ways that put God as first priority and then share with God's people, and there will be plenty left for ourselves. To acquire those things that we have, that are gifts ultimately, is first to recognize that these are gifts of God. All that we have, the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, the friends that we have, these are all gifts of God. And that we are good stewards of them in order that they may grow. The crooked manager in the story learned that he wanted more and more money for himself. He was mismanaging everything in order to get more. And then he learned, when he saw that no more was going to be coming in, that he could also mismanage people. And he could blackmail them. He had that over them. If you say anything, I'm going to tell the bastard that you wrote down the bill, that you actually owe him more, and you'll be in trouble. So you see how indebted that he had made these people become. Jesus says that we need to do such craftiness with good intentions. You see, money is either a trap, as it was for this dishonest manager, or it's a tool. And Jesus calls us to use this gift of money and our possessions and our gifts and our talents of music and ringing bells and singing, whatever talents there may be, of teaching Sunday school, that we use those in order to advance the kingdom. And you will find that as you give away, more will be given to you. Perhaps the parable was an inspiration for the musical Hello, Dolly. In that story, there was an old stingy businessman, and Dolly is just flabbergasted with him. And then something that is repeated through that is something that her deceased husband had said over and over again. Money is like manure. It's not worth a thing unless you spread it around, encouraging young things to grow. And that is how we need to be shrewd in the kingdom of God. Yes, this week we heard about a little girl from Sweden, Greta. Some of you were there, I bet. And she thought that she was too young and that she was from some far-off land that not too many people talk about in the news, and that she really couldn't do anything about what she saw as this great disaster about to fall upon us. But she was creative. She was crafty. She was thoughtful. She was ingenious with the gifts that she had, so that the world would wake up to the horrors that we are about to destroy our own climate and ourselves. Emmanuel, you have received a generous gift to assist people with the financial burden when they go to seminary. They're preparing for ordained ministry, and they'll probably get a salary, maybe a little better than some people, but it's certainly not going to be at the highest. And they're going to have all kinds of loans when they're done with that endeavor. And you have received this most generous gift from somebody who was crafty, somebody who was thoughtful, somebody who was ingenious in their planning, so that you could be crafty and ingenious and creative to make that gift work in perpetuity. And you've done that. You have been the crafty steward that Jesus commends, but you have been the crafty steward for life. Yes, our money given shrewdly, with energy and enthusiasm, enables others to experience God's love and mercy, forgiveness. Now, that is what Jesus is calling us to do out of this parable, where Jesus commends the craftiness, the shrewdness, but calls us to do it for life.